Laser Levers, this is SuperZombGBBQ, and today we are going to finally discuss something you have been asking for a long time, and this is one of the most popular videos on the channel, and I think now is the right time to discuss it. We are going to look at the rarest cards in WWE SuperCard. Something that is, well, just like it is in many games, about the rarity of certain items and how likely it is for you to get these, whether they're available anymore or whether they are extinct as such. We're going to look at the previous top 10, the changes in that, and then we're going to cover off the new top 10 for the most rare cards in the game. But if you like what you see in this video, just to start off with, make sure you smash that like button if you want to see more top 10s of different parts of the game, or even move on to 2K19, let us know. And make sure you comment in the comment section what your thoughts are in this video, any cards I've missed in this upload. Whilst we're there, subscribe to the channel by smashing that big red button and turn notifications on by clicking that bell. Let's get right into it. So what we're going to do first of all is look at the old top 10. I'm just going to cover that very briefly. So this was done back in February 2017. And as a tester, we looked at the rarest cards. Now, just to clarify, this is not an official list. This is based on the information and what I know about the game, plus the rarity and the likelihood of you seeing these items in the game. And this also includes support cards and whatnot. So we're going to get into this top 10. Starting at number 10 originally was the super tokens, and then moving on to number 9, season 1 throwback cards. Which then were just completely unobtainable. It's very, very difficult to get your hands on, especially the WrestleMania versions back in season 1. Money in the Bank Rusev came in at number 8. The 7th was Sami Zayn from the pro version of Sami Zayn from Ring Domination in season 1. Then number 6, Daniel Bryan PCC Pro in season 1. Moving on to the 5th, Undertaker Limited Edition, which was from season 3. That's the pro version. The 4th was the YouTube season 2 cards, the special edition cards that were very, very difficult to get. 3 was the Brock Lesnar Pro from season 1. Number 2 was Xavier Woods season 2 cards. Moving on to the rarest card at that time, which was Dean Ambrose from season 2, which only one person in the world has the pro of. So what I have decided to do is I've decided to change that up based on things that have happened in the last year and a half. When we start off with the super tokens, because the super tokens, as far as I am aware, are still available to purchase. But technically, they're no longer rare cards anymore. But there is a different set which was a hell of a lot rarer, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. We've also removed any PCC cards, including the Brock Lesnar PCC, due to a glitch. You may remember this, the debug menu glitch. Most people have been able to obtain these cards if they wish to, and it was impossible to check how many got access to these cards, but it has opened up the realms of possibilities for new additions, which we're going to start on now. So any comments about anything that I've missed or anything you would put in this top 10, let us know in the comments. Let's start off number 10, and it is a three-way tie, because again, they don't know the specific numbers, but number 10 is Money in the Bank Rusev, Season 1 WrestleMania throwback cards, and SummerSlam Emma throwback pro from SummerSlam 17 tier. These 3 cards, it's impossible to state how many numbers there are, but the Season 1 WrestleMania throwbacks are largely ignored because the kind of wrestlers they had in there were not people who are regularly available in the game, so they seem to, for the most part, be missed off the debug menu glitch when it came to the cards that people wanted to obtain using that method. The Money in the Bank Rusev is very simple. It was the least popular card out of that set, which is the only time Money in the Bank has had 3 cards. And the Emma SummerSlam throwback is the pro version even, is incredibly rare because that has been taken out of the cycle due to Emma leaving WWE. In fact, it's impossible to get that card anymore in the game. In fact, it's impossible to get any card of Emma's in the game because it has been removed from circulation. Number 9, and this is what I mentioned about taking out the super tokens. The super tokens have been gone. I've replaced those with the collector's edition cards. Now these collector's edition cards are basically the same as the super tokens, but they are the SuperCard equivalent. And these were only available for a limited time in Season 2. As soon as Season 3 came out, in fact, actually, I think in Season 2, they removed these from sale very shortly afterwards. And these were like the GameStop cards, where they just had a collector's edition gold background. But because many people had the super tokens, they didn't actually wish to buy the collector's cards, and not many people actually ever got either a pro or got themselves any of the cards from that collector's edition because they already had the super tokens. Although there was a couple of small differences, it wasn't enough to really justify spending the credits or the money in game on. Number 8, the Gobbledygook Pro from Season 4. So let's talk about this. At the beginning of every game, the SuperCard bring out a event card. Now Season 4 was a hell of a lot more would you say lenient this time, because they didn't start off with an event card. They started off with a standard card for Titan tier, but the next week they went straight into an event tier card in Gobbledygook as a bit of a joke because it was Thanksgiving, etc. And it was almost impossible to get. Literally, it was incredibly difficult to get, and you actually struck off from the paywall that was Ring Domination. When Season 4 launched, you had to be in Titan tier on the game to obtain the pro version. So even if you went to Road to Glory, if you wasn't in Titan tier, you physically couldn't even get the card pro'd from Ring Domination, which is why it makes this list. The single, more than enough people have it. The pro, very different situation. Moving on to number 7, another card that was struck off from a paywall, and that is Goldberg Pro from Season 3. A lot of people remember this card for the wrong reasons. This was put into the game probably badly advised after Season 3 launched. The first event was Goldberg to celebrate the fact that he was in the Survivor Series main event against Brock Lesnar. Unfortunately, Goldberg was completely locked off to anyone who wasn't in Ultimate tier in Ring Domination. Just to let you know how difficult that was. Some people spent upwards of $1,000 to push themselves up to Ultimate tier to obtain this card. And then you had to do Road to Glory the next week to get the pro, which was just as difficult. Yikes. Number 6, the Undertaker Limited Edition Pro from Season 3. Well, this is an example of how you don't do QR codes in WWE SuperCard. So the Undertaker Limited Edition Pro was actually something that was devised around about the Royal Rumble time. I personally think a great idea, a special card that was designed to, it wasn't even event level, it was like Money in the Bank level kind of card, but it was a really cool different image, and a lot of people wanted it. It was very difficult to get, and they only released a couple of QR codes on Twitter, which, as you can imagine, people snapped up immediately. Getting a pro of this was almost impossible because you had to either rely completely on luck of getting in a King of the Ring, putting it off the board, and then, even then, getting it as a card in a pack. And even after that, so we've just gone past all those 3 points and those abilities to get, which was almost impossible. The percentages, the likelihood was almost impossible to obtain that card. You then had to be within the first 30 seconds, if not 10 seconds, to obtain one of these cards on Twitter. And it was an absolute bloodbath. I was lucky enough to grab myself one of these, but oh my god, was it stressful. Getting the pro was even harder, which I was never able to do, and there's only a few people who've ever done it. Moving on there to number 5, we're looking at the YouTube Season 2 cards. Now, you might remember these, but these were awarded to CM Pulse, Tony Pizza Guy, and Luge. And these were John Cena, Shawn Michaels, and Seth Rollins specially created cards only for the YouTubers who went to the Season 2 preview event in Seattle. Now, these were produced by Cat Daddy as like a reward for going over there, as well as some free credits, etc. And these cards were then given to the YouTubers. These became available as a card in the game later on, all except one, as this was part of a main event pack that went live for WrestleMania, and there were quite a few people who managed to get their hands on those cards, which is why it's not at the top of the list. Number 4, the Gobbledygooker support. Oh god, this was difficult to get your hands on. People were searching far and wide. They released a Roast Beast pack back in WWE SuperCard Season 4, the very beginning, to celebrate Thanksgiving. And inside those packs was a potential at a Beast card called a Gobbledygooker support card. This was a limited edition, only available in those packs if you purchased the enhancements. Now, the enhancements on their own were worth it because they were incredibly overpowered. However, if you were lucky enough to grab yourself one of these supports, you could use that image from the support on the Gobbledygooker event card. Only problem was, it was almost impossible to get, and only a handful of people managed to get their hands on this Gobbledygooker support card. And the only reason this is above the YouTuber Season 2 cards is there are people out there who managed to get their hands on those from the packs. In fact, it was more like you got one of those YouTube cards from packs back in Season 2 than it was you got this Gobbledygooker support. Mental. Number 3, any number 1 LMS card. But this one simply is just down to the fact that a number 1 LMS card has to be seen as a tier above. And in this place, I would have put the PCC cards, but you have to respect anyone who puts that much time and that much money into obtaining the best cards in the game. And I'm not saying that just because I've done it, but only 5 people have managed to pull this off. And anyone who gets number 1 card gets the most powerful card in the game at that point, which means you have to respect that these cards are basically the best and the rarest of that type in the game. It's the only card apart from number 2 which has a specific numbering on it, and number 1 is the rarest you can get, so technically it counts as being one of the rarest cards available. So any number 1 NMS card was count in this list. As NMS continues, this number 1 NMS card will go up the tiers, up the rankings of this if we do another video similar to it, but for now it is number 3 on the list. Now we're going to move into the top 2, and there's going to be 2, I'd say, controversial cards in here, and we're going to look at number 2 first of all, Jimmy Snuka, Ultra Rare Season 2. Now previously I put in Xavier Woods' own personal card, but as far as I'm aware, Xavier Woods doesn't even have a SuperCard account anymore, so that card doesn't exist. That may not be correct, but from what I've heard and seen, the account Used Food does not exist anymore in Season 4, so that card is extinct. Why is Jimmy Snuka, why is an ultra rare card from Season 2 right here, right now? Well, simply because after a certain amount of time with a lot of, let's just say, allegations about his personal life, Jimmy Snuka was removed from the game, so no one has access to this card. If not, only a very few amount of people do, because many trained him away and wouldn't have cared too much about him. It was a very low level card for the beginning of the game, and it was only really beneficial in Season 2 for the very early tiers. So the fact that he was in that and then disappeared very soon afterwards puts him as one of the rarest cards in the game. Even above the likes of Enzo Amore, Emma, Summer Rae, Darren Young, and many other cards that have disappeared from the game thus far, which assumed is going to be joined by the likes of Big Cass and Neville eventually when he leaves. And let's move on to number 1, and this is a repeat of last time. Yes, Dean Ambrose, Season 2 Dean Ambrose, because there are only 2 of those cards, which now are only 1 of that card in existence today. Are we ever going to see it released? Probably not. And Just like the Jimmy Snuka card, this is not physically available and was never available to obtain in the game by any other means than by attending that event and then receiving it from the developers. And this belongs to Tubby Emu. Yeah, go and pester him about that card. But seriously, all love to Tubby. He's managed to get the rarest card in the game, and a lot of people are jealous about it. But just like the LMS card, the #1 LMS cards, those are owned by Mythos, Jin, Monster Cat, myself, and I call him James, but he's got a different name to that, but it's way too long to pronounce and way too complicated to pronounce. People have the third rarest card in the game. Tubby has the rarest card available, which is that Dean Ambrose Pro from Season 2. Going forward though, this list could very much change. Technically, Enzo Amore could be the rarest card in the game in the future. Big Cass, as well as I've mentioned a couple other names on there. Technically, any of those could be the rarest cards available at that point. We just have to wait and find out. But if you like what you see in this video, make sure you smash a like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you put your comments down below if I've missed anything or what you thought of the list. And turn notifications on by ringing that bell. In the meantime, I've been SuperZombGBBQ. You have been awesome. But one last thing, and that is to... Sonic!